Welcome back to the Steam Room here on GaySA Radio, brought to you by the South African National Department of Health's Phila project.
GaySA Radio, where you are family. I'm Hendrik, and I recently had the opportunity to speak to a gentleman who is a Chem Sex user. And the other question is, isn't it addictive?
I personally, what I found is that you've got two types of persons. You've got a person which I refer to as having an addictive personality. In other words, they tend to get easily addicted to anything. If you look up the word addiction in the Oxford Dictionary, it says the definition of addiction is to spend more time than what viewed normal on something. And that can be anything. That can be smoking. That can be cell phones, Facebook. Crystal meth gives you that feeling of being happy, enjoyment. It's similar to a chemical that human beings have got in their brains, which normally provides the chemical for us to laugh and be happy. Now, when we make use of crystal meth, and we up the dosage, we can very easily get used to being in this happy state continuously. The danger with the use of crystal meth is every time that you use it, it needs to be a little bit more than the previous time, and people start to do that very, very easily. And then they run into problems where they need money to get the drugs, and then they start selling and stealing and so forth. So that for me personally is the more dangerous part of the addiction. I experimented myself to determine what is my maximum usage that I can use without going outside my boundaries. I set boundaries for myself. I think I'm in the lucky position. I'm not an addictive person that's got an addictive personality. The moment that something interferes with the money in my pocket, it's wrong and it goes out the door. But what I've done is I've spent time to find the precise quantity that is effective for me for enhancing the sexual experience. The moment that the sexual experience disappear, and it's now just a case of I have to get it, but I'm not having sex, everything on my side closes up. I've got no desire whatsoever, for instance, to sit and watch pornography and do chems. For me, it's a wasting of precious money, because watching pornography is not sex in my mind.
So what you're saying is that it literally is using chems for the sake of sex and not just for the sake of being addicted. And that there is a danger that people will get addicted and could get addicted if they get the dosage wrong and
that's
start
correct, yes.
wanting to get that pleasure thing the whole time. Because my other question is, now you've done, let's say you've had a weekend. What happens when you stop taking it? You have to come down from it? Is there some withdrawals?
With crystal meth, people tend to go into depression or a state of depression. Once again, in my own situation, and also what I tell other guys who want some information about it, is you need to determine what are the depression subjects, so to speak, that comes up when you come off the crystal use. It took me about 4 years of usage to discover and to work out exactly what happens with me when I come off the crystal. In my case, I'm a very emotional person. I live my life on an emotional level, and I've discovered that once I come off the crystal, I cry about anything that happens, and I use that situation actually to then put a movie on, one of my crying movies, and I sit and I cry and I do a proper job of that. And that also helped me to sort of cope with the whole process of getting off the particular drug. But it varies from person to person. You get some people that they refer to it as it's called the meth psychosis. It's when you use crystal meth, your brain becomes very alert and aware of your surrounding environment. So much that things that is a concern in your life, or some or other subject that might be the primary event in your life at that time, gets enhanced by the crystal. I found it, for instance, if the one partner in a couple slips away to play behind his boyfriend's back and he does crystal meth, those guys normally start at some stage during the session, they start saying that they think their boyfriend is behind the curtain here or under the bed, or we need to put off the lights because somebody's watching them. That is all part of the meth psychosis that we refer to. I've learned that happens to me. Some of those hallucinations happens, but because I know that it's happening, I just ignore them. I actually put my video camera down for quite a long time. It was about 2.5 years that I filmed myself coming off the crystal meth after a session, because I wanted to see what happens with me. What can somebody see that I've done something? And looking back at those tapes in my specific situation, I couldn't. And I also got people in to evaluate the tape for me, and we couldn't determine when I was coming off of something and when it was just a normal crying day for the month. But as I said, I spent a lot of time to find out what is the precise usage and effects for me so that I can cope with it and not put myself at risk by doing something stupid or crazy because I'm not aware of what's going on around me.
So you were saying earlier also that there's this, you lose your inhibition. So you also mentioned that sex might become risky and people might not do things that they might under normal circumstances not do. How does one protect yourself and make sure that you stay safe within that sort of environment?
I'm of the opinion that within the chemical use concept of sex, there is no such thing as preparing yourself to be safe. Let's take the example of taking condoms with you. And I've actually checked. I love reading the body language of the guys in a group situation when they do chems, to see what they do. And you will get people coming in with all the best intentions in the world of using condoms, having protective sex, be safe. But the moment that they start using chems, or then specifically when you slam crystal meth, it's like a big solid granite door shuts down and people just go wild. Sexually speaking, they do not think about anything at that moment in time other than completing sort of the pleasure that they can get out of the situation.
long-term use, I think you at some point mentioned to me earlier that you might get erectile problems because of long-term use of the drug. Is that true?
Because the chemical that gives you pleasure, that makes you happy, is upped. At some point in your life, if you use crystal meth continuously, the glands in your brain that produce the chemical of feeling happy stops functioning. Which means that if you stop using crystal meth, your body doesn't manufacture that chemical so that you can be happy. So for all practical reasons, your medication that you need to take once that gland has stopped working is crystal meth. You actually then have to get it once a week or once in 2 weeks in order for you to survive emotionally, being happy, to just get the difference between being a depressed, sad person and enjoy life around you. I've found that there's a huge group of people that uses crystal meth that is not connected to sex, which in my mind doesn't compute. I can't understand that. Constant use of crystal meth will at some point damage your brain cells. I am aware of people that has been smoking crystal meth since the age of 16, who literally have got holes sort of burned into their brain cells, which doesn't regenerate. Also, the smoking of crystal interferes with your teeth. We refer to it as meth mouth. If you smoke crystal on a continuous basis, it will eat away at the enamel of your teeth.
I'm Max. This is the Steam Room on GaySA Radio, where you are family.